before I jump into the main topic of hand, I do want to talk about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, the new trailer that just came out, and just a funny little thing that came about as a result of said trailer. I did not know that Sheamus was going to be playing the role of Rocksteady. One of the things I marked out for in the trailer was the inclusion of Bebop and Rocksteady. I was like, whoa! That's really cool. It was like Bebop and Rocksteady are finally in a movie. I remember being disappointed about it in 1992 when Secret of the Ooze came out, that they went with Toka and Razor instead of Bebop and Rocksteady. I just couldn't understand. It's like, why did they go to the trouble of creating new characters when they could have just given us Bebop and Rocksteady? I mean, what's the difference? But so it's like, okay, Bebop and Rocksteady are finally in a movie, and Rocksteady will be played by the current WWE champion, Sheamus. That's interesting, and the reason I bring it up is because Sheamus was featured in the trailer to the sequel of a movie that was, at best, and I'm being very kind here, mediocre. The last Ninja Turtles movie was not very good, but maybe the sequel will be better. I mean, I'm already I'm already way happier with the trailer to the second one than I ever was with the first movie. Any of the material associated with that. So, we'll all see how it goes. But I just think it's funny that the trailer to the sequel of a mediocre film got me to mark out for Sheamus, which is more than I can say about literally anything the WWE has ever done with him. I don't know why that is. It's just a funny little thing. It's like, how is it that dude's been regularly featured on WWE programming for like 6 years, and I've never given a shit about him, but goddamn, you have him play a CGI rhinoceros man, and I mark out for him. It's really strange. I don't know. It's really odd, but I'm a little surprised they didn't get him to play Bebop, because you'd think with the mohawk that he'd be better suited for that role. But in any case, I just thought that was funny, so I figured I'd point it out. So, a lot of stuff to cover today. Mainly what I'm going to be doing today is previewing a bunch of shows. Originally, I had intended for this video to be a preview to TLC exclusively. But then I realized, we've got NXT TakeOver coming up next week and ROH Final Battle coming up next week, and I can't really preview those shows because I'm doing my Star Wars video early next week. I plan on having that one out either like Tuesday or Wednesday, and because the idea is to get it out before The Force Awakens. And then the next video I was going to review TLC and The Force Awakens, but then I realized, we've got this NXT special and we've got Ring of Honor Final Battle. Why don't I preview all the wrestling shows now, do the Star Wars video next, then after I see The Force Awakens and TakeOver and TLC and ROH Final Battle, next weekend I could do a big video reviewing everything. And then after that, I'll do my end of the year video, and then I'll peace out for the rest of the year, and I'll see you in 2016. So that is my current plan and what I'm going to do, and hopefully I can get through all that, and hopefully all the videos turn out well. So, this video is going to be a preview of the 4 wrestling shows that are upcoming. These shows are WWE's Table, Ladders, and Chairs 2015. That one's occurring later tonight, actually. I'm actually filming this. It's after midnight, the day of the show. So it's actually occurring later tonight in, less than 24 hours. So we have that show coming up later in just a few short hours. On Wednesday, we're getting NXT TakeOver London. And then we get The Force Awakens, and because I'm really excited for that. And then the next weekend we get ROH Final Battle. So okay, cool. We're getting, well, when I say next weekend, I mean like literally the weekend coming up this week. But we're getting ROH Final Battle, which will be that's their biggest show of the year. So I'll have a lot to talk about with that. And then New Japan Pro Wrestling released their card for Wrestle Kingdom 10. And I definitely want to talk about that because, again, with all the other videos I'm doing, I'm not going to have a whole lot of time to preview it, except for right now. This would be the best time for me to preview it. And when I do my end of the year video, my first video of 2016 is probably going to be some kind of a review for Wrestle Kingdom 10. So because it's it's obviously the January 4th show, so it's going to be the first wrestling show I watch in 2014 or 2016 most likely. So yeah, I'm going to preview TLC, NXT TakeOver London, ROH Final Battle, and New Japan Wrestle Kingdom 10. So let's go ahead and knock that out, and we'll do it in the order that the shows are going to take place. So let's start off with WWE's final pay-per-view of 2015, Tables, Ladders, and Chairs. If you followed my videos for any length of time, I'm not a fan of the gimmicky pay-per-views. I think it's kind of this all flash, no substance style of promoting a show. The one that I have criticized the most for doing this is TNA's Lockdown, where it's just, let's put 8 matches inside of a steel cage, whether it makes any sense or not. And it's just a cheap way to kind of window dress the show and make up for the fact that maybe their storylines suck, or maybe people don't care about the feuds otherwise. And it's really kind of lame, and it dilutes the gimmick. That's the other problem. When you do 8 cage matches on one show, it makes the cage match seem a lot less cool. To me, the cage matches should be used as feud enders and big, that should be a big feud ending match, just not just this thing that you throw out there just for the sake of selling a gimmick for a pay-per-view. Because if the story doesn't call for a cage, then there's really no reason. I don't see any reason to do the cage. TLC is one of those pay-per-views I feel kind of that way about. I'll never forget, it was one of the TLC events, and one of the matches on there, they were still doing the ECW, WWE style of ECW at this point, and it was Christian versus Shelton Benjamin for the ECW title in a ladder match. And people on the internet was like, Christian's a great worker, Shelton's a great worker, they're both great athletes, they're great with the ladder match, this match will be great. And I was one of the few people sitting there going, what's the story? I don't even know what the storyline is. Why is this a ladder match? What's the storyline between Christian and Shelton Benjamin that would lead to this being a ladder match? And nobody can answer that question for me, because I wasn't watching ECW at the time anyway. So I didn't know. Maybe there was this great, I wasn't fully aware. There could have been this really great storyline in place, and I just didn't know about it. But that was not the case. It was just something that they threw out there as just to get a ladder match on the show because it's TLC and that's what you do. And to me, that's just putting them in a bad situation. I'm like, if I were a wrestler and if I were put in this type of situation, I'm like, look, you're putting me in a dangerous match with no story, and I don't see the point in doing it that way. I would say, all right, if you want to put me in a ladder match, let's come up with a really awesome story to complement and build to said ladder match. Of course, in an ideal world, Christian and Shelton would have known about the ladder match months in advance and been like, okay, let's do everything on TV to build up to that ladder match and it'll be great. And that's not what they did. And and because of that, the Christian-Shelton match, I barely remember it. I remember the effort being really good, but there was nothing tangible was on the line. It didn't feel like the conclusion of anything. It didn't feel like this really great feud had been risen to the next level. It just felt like a ladder match for the sake of doing a ladder match. And then if you look at something like last year's event, the main event was the TLC match between Bray Wyatt and Dean Ambrose, and they were the main event coming after a ladder match where Luke Harper and Dolph Ziggler beat the crap out of each other. There were tables matches and chairs matches or whatever the fuck. Although chairs matches are pretty lame, but they did the stairs match last year, between Big Show and Eric Rowan. I'm so shocked that they didn't bring that back. I'm just totally surprised. But by the time you got to Ambrose and Bray, the TLC thing is we'd already seen ladder dives, we'd already seen table bumps, so it kind of took away from that match because you'd already gotten your fill of all the stuff that they were offering. And that's the other problem, especially, again, going back to my Lockdown example, it's I always felt really bad for the main events of Lockdowns because you've got to be the last cage match on a show with 8 cage matches. That's got to be killer. I mean, that's got to be. Not that they didn't ever succeed at it. I remember AJ and Abyss had a really good one in 2005. I remember in 2006, the Lethal Lockdown that closed was very good, and et cetera, et cetera. But that's got to be really hard to be on a card with that many cage matches than to actually be the main event of that show. That's got to be really difficult. But and I imagine that's kind of a similar problem here, where you look at Roman Reigns and Sheamus in the main event of the show, and I'll talk more about it when I run down the card, but they've got to be the main event on a show that has an 8-man elimination tables match. So you're getting at least 4 table bumps in that match. Because it's 4-on-4 elimination style. It's like, all right, so at the very least you're getting 4 table spots in that match alone. And then Sheamus and Roman Reigns have got to go out there in a match where they're expected to do table bumps. And it's like, it kind of takes away from them, and it takes away from the TLC gimmick, I'll say that. And it's just difficult. It's needlessly difficult. And also, the TLC ladder match, there's also a 3-way tag team ladder match, which is surely going to be a car wreck when you look at some of the guys that are involved in it. And that match is going to be insane, but from a spot standpoint, and then Roman and Sheamus have to go out there and be the main event after having to follow that. So it's I'm not saying it's impossible, I'm just saying it's very, very difficult and probably just not necessary. And it just feels like, did this show really need to be a TLC show? I mean, if your storylines were better and your shows were better, you wouldn't have to resort to gimmicking up everything and making it all work. But I'm not saying, I don't think the card is terrible. I think they could probably get through this okay and probably put on a solid show. It's just that, Raw's still kind of a chore to sit through. The injuries are definitely killing them right now. When you look at the guys that are off TV right now, and the whole League of Nations thing that they're doing is the main storyline of the show. It's not the worst thing ever, but it's not that interesting either. It's just, let's take all our evil foreign people and make them a stable. It's like, Although I do think it's funny that you look at, especially the way Raw broke out this week, where you had Team ECW, which, Jesus Christ, we will get ECW reunions from now until eternity. I mean, my fucking God. I'll talk more about that, but you have a 4-man ECW team. You have the Wyatt family, which has 4 people. You have Roman's team, which I guess I'll just call them the Roman Empire. I don't know if they have an official name. I'd be lying if I said I was paying close attention to what goes on Raw these days. But so you have Roman's team, and then you have the League of Nations, and I'm thinking, man, it's a shame you didn't have all those 4-man teams in time for Survivor Series. Oh well, I mean, that would have been a good time to have all those factions. But in any case, let's go over the card. But like I said, the card's not terrible. It's just, I don't know. The gimmick of the TLC thing, I think, is both hindering the show and helping it at the same time, because it's probably sprucing it up a little bit beyond and making it a little bit nicer to look at than probably most people would probably care about. I mean, you look at the 3-way tag match. Would too many people care about that, But you make it a ladder match, and people probably go, oh, okay, car wreck, spot festy match. So there's a lot of that going on. But in any case, like I said, I don't think the card's terrible. It's just a shame that Raw is just not very good these days, and it's just making the pay-per-view seem less and less of an attraction when the shows are so bad. But yeah. Anyway, let's go over the card. You have Charlotte versus Paige for the Divas title. Now, I think the build-up to this this rematch has been much better than the build-up to the first match, where there's actually some level of character development here, especially in regards to what happened between Charlotte and Becky Lynch. And now I've got to start wondering, they did that whole thing where the match that those two had together actually led to some character development. It's like, oh, is Charlotte going the way of her daddy by being the dirtiest player in the game? Is Becky Lynch upset with Charlotte, and how is she going to react, and what role is she going to play in this match? Is she going to cost Charlotte the title? Is she going to join up with Paige? Is she going to stay loyal to Charlotte? I mean, how is that all going to play out? There's actually some character development there, and Becky Lynch is kind of an X factor that's kind of hanging on the sidelines that could affect the outcome of the match. So it's a little bit more interesting, and the story is a little bit more focused than it was last month. So I think they could probably turn it around and have a much better match as a result. I expect Becky Lynch to turn heel and join up with Paige. That's what I'm guessing is how it's going to play out, and Paige will probably win the title. It's probably how it's going to go down. But I mean, credit to them. I think the build-up this time around has been much better. And on the other side of things, with the Divas, you've got Team Bad, especially Sasha Banks, kind of being built up along the way. So she's eventually going to play some kind of a role in this, you would think. So possibly being built up for a title shot down the road, who knows? But we shall see. Next up, I have Dean Ambrose versus Kevin Owens for the Intercontinental title. I think it'll be a good match. I mean, the match they had at Survivor Series was good. It actually kind of makes sense in a way to do this match because Ambrose beat Kevin Owens in the tournament. So this would be like the next logical step in whatever their story is. To do a title match. It's like, oh, well, he beat Kevin Owens in the tournament, so naturally he should probably get an Intercontinental title shot at some point. It's a way of using a non-title victory very effectively because the match mattered on its own beyond just being a cheap non-title match that they threw out there on Raw. It was a tournament match, and they just happened to face each other, and Ambrose won, and now we're getting this title match as a result. Although, this probably happened on SmackDown, but when did the Usos and Dean Ambrose get back into the title pictures? Because I know they did that whole thing where if Roman didn't beat Sheamus in 5 minutes and 15 seconds that they would lose their title shots, but they didn't really... How'd they resolve that? I don't know. I'm going to assume that it happened on SmackDown, and I just didn't see it. But in any case, I don't know who's going to win the Intercontinental title. My guess would be keep it on Owens. Because Sami Zayn's coming back soon. What if Sami Zayn comes back and interferes and costs Owens the title, and then that gives... either continue their storyline on main WWE television or take it back down to NXT and let them continue it there. So I'm not going to count on Sami Zayn getting involved, but it would be kind of cool if they found some way to work him in and let their story continue, because their story, I feel like there's more to do there, and there's definitely some stuff to play with. There's definitely some hanging story threads there that they could play with and make either a big WrestleMania match out of or continue on NXT or whatever they want to do. Next up, we have Ryback versus Rusev in a singles match. I don't really know what to say about this. One of the things I do like what they're doing with the League of Nations is at least they're keeping the four members like in their individual storylines. Rather than just doing what you saw with like the NWO back in the day, where they would just cram everybody into every segment and blah blah blah. And they do share segments together, but there's also like some spider webbing going on where Rusev is off doing his own thing, and Del Rio is off doing his own thing, and Sheamus is off doing his own thing. I'm not saying any of it is that great. I'm just saying it's like, okay, they're at least trying to give some individuality to the members here. That said, I don't really know what to say about this. I guess Rusev goes over, I would think. I don't know. That's that's really all I got for this one. Next up is a U.S. title chairs match, and chairs matches are stupid. Not as stupid as stairs matches, but I'm not a fan of chairs matches. But most of those like weapon-specific matches, I just do a no DQ match. I mean, fuck. It's like, if you're going to make one weapon legal, I mean, you might as well just go all the way and make them all legal. But in any case, it's Alberto Del Rio versus Jack Swagger. I guess it makes sense to do this match given that Zeb Coulter and Alberto Del Rio had a partnership. They've apparently stopped the whole Mexican America thing, which thank God, because that was not working at all. Was not working at all. And you could tell, like, you could see it in Del Rio's face. He wasn't enjoying it at all. So, so it's kind of good that they put a stop to that. And, you've got Jack Swagger, who had a partnership with Zeb Coulter. And quite honestly, I thought their partnership was a lot more, it felt more real, if that makes any sense. That one felt more organic and more realistic than the Mexican American thing, so maybe we can get Zeb Coulter and Jack Swagger back together. I don't really know. My guess is that Alberto's going to retain the title here regardless of anything that happens. So moving right along from there. We have a ladder match for the Tag Team Championship. I already mentioned it a little while ago, but you got New Day versus the Usos versus the Lucha Dragons, three-way tag in a ladder match for the tag titles. I'll say it again, New Day retains. I mean, there's really no reason to go with anybody else at this point. The Lucha Dragons, they haven't been built up well enough to take the tag titles. I don't think they're massively over enough to be the tag champions, and the same kind of goes for not so much for the Usos, but the Usos are kind of just flashy baby faces that wrestle the exact same match every single time. So, I'm not trying to rag on them. I'm just saying it's like, they're, keep the titles on the most interesting guys. And right now it's the New Day. They're funny. They're entertaining. I like them. I enjoy watching. They're consistently the best part of Monday Night Raw week to week. So they really are, like, the best way I can describe the New Day, they're the New Age Edge and Christian. Like, what set Edge and Christian apart from all the other teams during the Attitude Era was that they were funny, they were entertaining, they were goofballs, and really had these personalities that really set them apart from everybody else, who tried to act like badasses. Like, the Dudley Boys were badasses. The Hardy Boys tried to act like badasses. The Acolytes were badasses. So you had Edge and Christian, who were kind of these surfer dude kind of goofball idiots that would, use all sorts of slang and do all sorts of comedy bits and everything. And that really set them apart and made them the most entertaining team of the bunch. So, and the New Day are kind of that way, where you have all these flashy, high-flying babyface teams, and you have, like, bruiser, mean heel teams, and then you have the New Day, who are these goofball idiots that, they tried to make them babyface, and that didn't work, and now they're, like, the best act on the show by turning them heel. It was really, really stroke of genius. I think for right now, you just keep the belts on the New Day. I don't see any reason to switch it at this point. I think the ladder match will be insane because Kofi Kingston will surely do something crazy that will make the match work. So it could be. It's going to be a spot fest train wreck of a match, but it could be fun, and it's nice that I'm actually invested in one of the three teams, so that'll help too. Next up from there, we have the tables match. It'll be a 4 versus 4 elimination tables match. The Wyatt family, Bray Wyatt, Luke Harper, Eric Rowan, and Braun Strowman versus Bubba Ray Dudley, Devon Dudley, Tommy Dreamer, and Rhino, Team ECW. And oh my fucking God, how many times are we going to get ECW reunions? How many times? Like, okay, guys, I was making fun of TNA for doing ECW reunion shows. That was 5 years ago. It was over 5 years ago that they were doing ECW reunion shows. How many times do we have to have ECW nostalgia rammed down our throats? I'm like, guys, it's dead. Let it die, okay? I know we all had a barrel of laughs over ECW. We all thought it was entertaining and great and crazy and wild and insane and all that stuff. But guys, it was so long ago. Let it die. It's over. It's over. And them still trying to cash in on ECW nostalgia is just insane to me. Like, it's mind-numbing at this point because it feels like almost an annual thing. Somebody's going to dig up ECW and do some, like, kind of nostalgia shit with it. And it's like, stop. It was... I wish they had just stopped at One Night Stand. I wish, One Night Stand was fine. Should have left it at that. And no, we had to do reunion show. Well, the funny thing is the next One Night Stand after 2006, which doesn't even make any sense. I think they should have called it Sloppy Seconds, but that's just me. But the second One Night Stand wasn't really an ECW reunion show. It was both a kickoff show for the new ECW, and it was also like a WWE versus ECW show. It wasn't really an ECW reunion show, but in any case, whatever. I'm just sick of ECW nostalgia at this point. I want it to go away. But Tommy Dreamer getting pinfalls over the Wyatt family on Raw this week. I'm like, that's something that should be happening in 2015. Okay, that makes sense. And again, this is a match that, the whole Dudley Boys versus Wyatt's feud, I think, is a good idea on paper, and they could have done something with it. The problem was that they were too busy feeding the Wyatts to The Undertaker and Kane last month to really build this feud in a way. Like, this is something that should have gotten a few months to really simmer and boil and then really do this big payoff match, which is the big tables match. But instead, it just kind of got the 1 month build, and it's like, oh, okay. And, Bubba Ray Dudley, they already put Bray Wyatt through a table on Raw a couple weeks ago, which I'm like, okay, guys, you don't want the heel to get egg on his face until it's time for him to get egg on his face. You know what I mean? Like, the climax, okay, theoretically, you want Bray Wyatt to be the heel. and you want the audience to want the Dudleys to put him through a table, right? That should be the end game, right? Like, that's what you want the fans to want. You don't give it to them on TV. You give it to them when it's time to do the match. And theoretically, that match would be on pay-per-view, or it would be on a special event, or a big episode of Raw, or whatever. But you would build up to that match, and then give the fans what they want. That's how it should be. It's like, the payoff should be like a climax, and they're so fixated on getting pops and sending the fans home happy every single week that... they give away things like Bray Wyatt going through a table on Raw, and it's like that really undercuts the build-up, I think. Think back to 2000 when the Dudley Boys feuded with TNA, not TNA, but the tag team Test and Albert TNA, and the whole build-up was they're going to put Trish Stratus through a table. They're going to put her through a table. They didn't put Trish through the table once or twice on Raw before the pay-per-view. They spent weeks building up, teasing that Trish was going to go through the table, but she constantly got away, and she kept trying to seduce Bubba Ray Dudley to get out of being put through the table, and all the other sexual shit that they did with her. But the basic build-up was there in place, is that they made it so that you wanted to see Trish Stratus go through a table, which makes you a sick fuck. But but in any case, they made that the climax to the feud, and they built up to that point, and they delivered it at the pay-per-view, when it was supposed to happen. So they don't do that anymore. I mean, that's too much work. But but in any case, that's my piece on that. I think the match could turn out okay. I guess I would think the Wyatts would go over at this point. I mean, my God, if they lose to Undertaker and Kane and then lose to Old Man ECW team the month after that, I don't know what's up anymore. Like, I just don't get it. There's no reason for the Dudleys, Rhino, and Tommy Dreamer, of all fucking people, to be getting wins over the Wyatts in 2015. That's just stupid and ignorant, and here's hoping the Wyatts go over, because it shouldn't be anything otherwise. And finally, we have the main event, Sheamus defending the WWE title against Roman Reigns in a TLC match. I've already pointed out some of my misgivings about the gimmicks of the actual show, so I won't talk as much about that. What I will say is that this match will be very interesting in who goes over, because it's really going to determine who carries the belt heading into WrestleMania. I mean, is Sheamus really going to be the guy that they have carry the belt into WrestleMania? I mean, really? Sheamus? That's the guy you want to carry the torch all the way to WrestleMania 32? I mean, theoretically, it's not set in stone that whoever wins in December walks into Mania as the champion, but you got to be thinking that whatever their plan is for WrestleMania 32, they've got to start implementing it now. If Roman's going to win the title, this might be the time to do it. If Sheamus is going to retain the title, he's most likely going to carry it going into WrestleMania. So I don't really care about either character at all. So if Roman wins, it's like, we knew it was coming eventually. If Sheamus wins, this boring character continues to hold the belt. So there's not a lot to get excited about, unfortunately. But yeah, that's really all there is. I don't know what else to say. It's just kind of, no matter who wins this, I'm not going to be overly excited about who the champion is. Who goes over? I guess Sheamus will probably, because he just won the belt. I doubt he'll lose it so quickly. I don't know. It could be Roman. Could be. I mean, they could do a heel turn with Dean Ambrose. I keep predicting that that's going to happen, and it hasn't happened yet. But who knows? I don't know. I don't pretend to know anything. So yeah, that's TLC. Like I said, not a terrible card. We'll just have to play it by ear and see what WWE delivers later tonight. My hopes aren't that high, but it is their final pay-per-view of the year, and maybe they can deliver something good to close out the year. Now let's talk about an event that I am far more excited for, NXT TakeOver London, which is going to be NXT's next big takeover special. And I'm looking forward to see what they do in the London setting, and seeing what the crowd's like, and how they present the show and everything. My one real concern about this show, unfortunately, I think of all the takeover specials I've seen so far, and I've I've praised all of their takeover specials. They're batting on, or what's the word I want to use? They've bowled a perfect game so far. It's like all of their takeover specials have been really, 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 really good. I'm looking at the card for this one, and it's not that great. And not that it's terrible, not that it's the worst thing ever. It's just that there's not a whole lot on that card that's like, oh, I gotta see that. Like, if you compare it to a year ago when they did our Evolution, that main event, Sami Zayn and Adrian Neville, I could not miss that. Like, I absolutely was like, no, it's title versus career. I think Sami's going to win the belt. I need to see that. Earlier this year you had Bayley versus Sasha at Brooklyn. And I was like, I can't miss that. You had the Iron Woman match, Bayley versus Sasha. I'm like, I can't miss that. Also, the finals of the tag tournament, can't miss that. This one, there's not really a whole lot that's really grabbing me as far as like, oh, it's just... the main event is good. It's Finn Balor versus Samoa Joe, and they've done a pretty decent job of building up for a long time. I mean, the build-up here goes all the way back to the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Tournament. So they've actually been planting the seeds for this one for a long time, and getting to the point where Joe eventually turns heel, turns on Balor, and then we set up the match, and yada, 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 all of that stuff. But there's just not a whole lot on the card that's really that interesting, and I think maybe part of it's because they're starting to feel the effects of the guys that have left NXT. Neville's not there anymore. Sami Zayn got hurt. Hideo Itami got hurt. Injuries have really been plaguing the WWE lately. You had all their big divas move up to the main roster. So they've kind of had to find ways to fill the void. Now, one way that they've really filled the void, I think the tag division has gotten a lot better. They've really stepped up the tag team division side of things. In the women's division, they've still got some promise there, but some of the girls need some development. They're not at the level that like Sasha and Charlotte and Becky were. So that's something that they gotta, you gotta contend with. You lose guys, you gotta find something that can plug it in and hopefully be as good. So that's always one of the difficulties of the wrestling business. You can't keep everybody forever, but again, I'm looking at this card and it's like, it's not their best card, but maybe it'll be good. NXT has built up enough trust with me where I can look at it and go, well, maybe they'll make something work, or maybe it'll turn out to be a really good show regardless of the fact that it's not, that interesting of a card compared to some of the other ones they've had. So it's really weird. Like WWE's main show, I'm kind of like, I don't really care about anything they do. NXT, they can put on like a card that's beneath the standards of what I usually expect from them, and I go, oh, okay. Oh, you don't have Adrian Neville or Tyler Breeze or Hideo Itami or Sami Zayn or any of the women like Sasha or Charlotte or Becky. It's like, okay. Well, I mean, they'll probably figure something out. So let's check it out and see what they do. So it's the brand has built up enough trust within me to where I'm willing to give them a chance, even if the card's not that great. So we'll see if that trust is warranted come showtime. But let's go over the card. It's 5 matches. You've got two women's matches, I should say. I don't like calling them divas because that just doesn't make... divas is usually used as a derogatory term, so I'd rather just call them women. But, 2 women's matches. You've got Asuka versus Emma, and obviously just a regular singles match. And I think this match could be a bit of a sleeper hit. And I think it's going to make up for the women's title match probably not being that great. And I'll cover that in a second. But I think Asuka has come on quite nicely since she came on the scene. And I think Emma's a really good worker on her own. So I think these two could go out there and have a really, really good match. And I think that's what they're banking on. I think this is going to be like one of the best actual wrestling matches on the show, and it's going to be a bit of a sleeper hit. We'll see how it goes, but I expect good things here. I also expect Asuka to stay undefeated and win this match, so there's that. Then there's the women's title match. It's Bayley versus Nia Jax with Eva Marie in her corner. I guess Eva Marie's kind of playing the Ted DiBiase a little bit, where she has the giant win the belt for her. I think that's what they're going for. I don't know. I could very well see Nia Jax winning the title here because they seem sold on her. But unfortunately, I love Bayley to death, and any bad thing I say about this match is not going to reflect on her, but. I'm just not sold on Nia Jax. I get that they want to bring in a big monster, and the preview packages for her were very impressive. since she's been on, and she's had like mostly squash matches, and I've just kind of looked at her and go, she's not that impressive as a giant. I mean, it's not like, compare that to Baron Corbin, who, he was, when he first came on the scene, he was doing like these 20-second, 30-second matches, but he looked awesome doing it, I thought. And the End of Days got over as like a pretty cool finisher. And then eventually they developed his character and they gave him more. And Baron Corbin has slowly gotten better since then. I think Baron Corbin now is a lot better than he was a year ago. But starting him off with those squash matches, like, wow, this guy looks really impressive. And he's really like, this guy's a monster. And Nia Jax, I think they're trying to do the same thing with her, but it's just, I don't know. It's just she's not coming off as like that powerful or that menacing or that dangerous the way she should. She's failing to leave an impression on me. I'm not sure. They did do that one backstage segment where she threw Bayley through a wall. That was kind of cool. But other than that, I'm not buying the monster act with her, and her like spine buster-ish finisher thing looks a little dangerous, and I don't know if they want to keep letting her do it. But I don't know. Maybe Bayley can get something out of her. I'm sure Bayley will bump all over the place for her and try and make it work. And hopefully they have a good match together. Like I said, I would not be surprised if Nia Jax won the title, especially since Bayley has defended the title so much over the last month. She had the match with Alexa Bliss. She defended the title against Eva Marie. She's just coming off the Iron Man match from the last TakeOver special. So she's been defending the title fairly regularly. So it wouldn't surprise me if they gave her all those title matches just so they could kind of pad her stats a little bit and then have her drop the belt to the new monster, and then Asuka will probably be built up to take Nia Jax down. That's my guess of how it's going to go down. But and we'll probably get Bayley versus Asuka at some point, probably in 2016. So that's my guess. That's my guess of how that's all going to play out. But so there's that. You have the tag title match of Enzo and Cass versus Dash Wilder and Dawson and Wilder. I hope I didn't screw up their names too much, but like I said, I'm really digging the NXT tag team division right now. I think they've added a bunch of great new teams to the mix. Jason Jordan and Chad Gable, I think, are superstars waiting to happen. I don't mind them not getting the title shot here because I think they're being built up to that point, and that's completely fine. And they're taking their time with them, and that's great. And I think they are eventually going to get the belts at some point. But they're really coming along very nicely. And Blake and Murphy have gotten a lot better. Alexa Bliss, I thought, adding her to the mix somehow gave Blake and Murphy that thing that they were missing and kind of made them a better team. I've always loved the Vaudevillains. They're another one. And you have a few kind of you've got kind of goofy babyface teams like the Hype Bros and Enzo and Cass a little bit. Although Enzo and Cass, major credit to them for on this last episode of NXT coming out all angry and mean and really wanting to really get their revenge on Wilder and Dawson. So it made the match feel a little bit more intense than you would usually expect out of Enzo and Cass, who are usually just kind of lovable goofball types with New Age Outlaws style entrance. And no, they mean business now. So I kind of like that part of the show last week, and I thought they kind of stole the show actually. So I think this could be a good tag match, and I'm not counting on Enzo and Cass winning the titles because, like I said, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Jordan and Gable that ultimately take the titles. But although I guess they could just as easily take it from Enzo and Cass. I don't know. But typically, you want to, if you're building up a babyface of any division, tag team or singles, whatever, you normally want a heel to be the champions when they beat them for it. But you could probably do face versus face with those two teams. I don't know, but in any case, I'm looking. I don't expect a title change here. It could be a good match, but I expect better things down the road once Jordan and Gable get into the tag title scene. So there's that to look forward to. Then you have Apollo Crews versus Baron Corbin, which is going to be their big heavyweight match. Could be fun. Baron Corbin, like I said, he's gotten a lot better. I mean, his matches with Rhino and his matches with Samoa Joe, I thought turned out pretty well. And I think Apollo Crews has done magnificently well ever since he's been on NXT. So I think these two could mesh together pretty well and have a nice power match together. I expect Apollo Crews to stay undefeated, and he'll probably eventually get a title shot at some point. But it's I just expect a good power match out of these two. Again, nothing special, nothing setting the world on fire, but it should be a good match. And then you have the main event of Finn Balor versus Samoa Joe. Like I said, they built this up fairly well, I think. I think it's probably the best match they could do at this point, well, with all the injuries and the people that moved off the roster. And, guys are coming back. Sami Zayn's getting ready to come back, so I'm sure we'll probably get a Balor versus Zayn at some point. That would be really cool. But, I'm going to pick Finn Balor to retain. He's doing fairly well as champion. He's a nice... he's a nice steady hand to keep the belt on until you come up with something bigger to ultimately take the belt from him. But I would expect Finn Balor to retain here, but I wouldn't be surprised if Samoa Joe won the belt either. So we'll see how it all plays out. I expect these two to have a really good match together. Like I said, Joe, he's not like what he was a decade ago, but he's still good enough to work really well with somebody like a Finn Balor. And I think their two styles are so different from each other that they'll kind of have a natural chemistry together, much like Balor and Owens had, although I don't know if Joe and Balor's matches will be as good as those, but I expect a pretty good match out of these two, and I think it's going to be a nice main event, and hopefully it turns out to be a really nice TakeOver special. Like I said, many, many, many times before, the TakeOver specials have been a major highlight of my enjoyment of the art of professional wrestling ever since I started watching NXT. So hopefully this one continues the streak. We get another good show to close out NXT's year, and hopefully hopefully everything goes really well. I hope it's a good show. And like I said, I'm not overly excited about the card, but I do have trust in NXT to do something to make it work. So we shall see. And next up, we have Ring of Honor's final pay-per-view event of the year, Final Battle. And I'll actually have information down in the description on how to watch this particular pay-per-view. You can find it on the Flips app, and I think there's a few other methods as well. But I'll have that information posted in the description just in case anybody's interested and they want to watch it. Ring of Honor, there's the whole situation with Destination America where not only are they dropping TNA, they're also dropping Ring of Honor. They've actually already dropped Ring of Honor. At least I haven't seen it pop up on my DVR, and I've checked the TV schedule and I haven't been able to find Ring of Honor, so I'm assuming they've already dropped it. But which is kind of a shame because it's one less wrestling show for me to watch, and it wasn't a bad show. Ring of Honor this year, none of their shows have been stellar. None of their shows have been amazing, except for maybe some of the New Japan crossover shows they did. But, the effort's always there, and the shows are usually at least solid. And it's entertaining, and, nothing to reinvent the wheel or be, like, the most cutting-edge thing on the planet. But it's overall entertaining, and it's overall been a solid, quality-wise, it's been a solid year for them, and it's a shame that they lost the spot with Destination America. But, and TNA, they're getting their spot on the Pop Network, which that'll be interesting to see how that turns out, especially since they've already announced that the finals of their world title series will take place on the first show on Pop. So, okay, that'll be something. But in any case, Final Battle's coming up, and overall, some matches I'm interested in seeing, other ones I'm not. Some of them have a nice little bit of build-up to them, others, whatever. But overall, it's probably not going to be a bad show, I wouldn't think. That sounds a little too negative. I think it's going to be a good show overall. Just the card doesn't look like the most amazing thing on the planet, but I think they can put together a good show here. Going over the matches, you have Dalton Castle facing Silas Young again. This is a feud that hasn't been working for me and hasn't really grown or developed anything. And actually, the last match they had the stipulation of if Silas wins, he gets the boys. And this match, as far as I know, has no stipulation. So this kind of feels like a step down, and it hasn't really evolved the story in any way, shape, or form. So it's really hard to care. I would imagine Dalton would go over, but just to keep the heat on him for taking the boys and treating him like garbage or whatever. But, who knows. You also have a six-man tag. It's Sabin, Daniels, and Kazarian versus Alex Shelley, Matt Sydal, and ACH. I expect this to be kind of a typical, high-flying cruiserweight 6-man tag. Hopefully they adhere to the rules of tag team wrestling and make it a little bit more palatable for me, because the tornado tag, bounce all over the place format, I'm really getting kind of sick and tired of. But and I've made that point many, many times, not just with Ring of Honor, but many other shows as well. So hopefully they actually follow the rules of tag team wrestling in this one. But I'll pick the heels to go over, Daniels, Kazarian, and Sabin. No real reason. I just feel like they're more established as a threesome. So I would imagine they'd probably get the win, but who knows. Speaking of pinball matches, then we have the number 1 contenders match for the Ring of Honor tag titles. It will be the Briscoe brothers, the Young Bucks, and the All Night Express, Rhett Titus and Kenny King. It's going to look like every other Young Bucks match I've seen this year, where they will just bounce all over the fucking place and not tag in and out. Nothing's going to make any fucking sense, but everyone will love it because it's just action for the sake of action, even though it looks exactly the same as all their other matches. So I'm predicting that this match will be no different. Who goes over? Not sure. Probably the Bucks. I don't know, because they're so over and everyone loves them, even though I think they're massively overrated. But in any case, that is that. And that's all that needs to be said there. I also, to be more of a story reason, I think they may have some kind of a feud between the Briscoes and the All Night Express that won't involve the title. So they'll probably have the Bucks go over, and then the Briscoes and the All Night Express will shoot off from that and do their own thing. The All Night Express came back and they beat the Briscoes their first night in, so I think that might develop into some kind of a story there. So we shall see. Next up, we have Michael Elgin taking on Moose, and I think this match could be really interesting. I expect it to be very smash mouth, very power heavy, but you got 2 athletic big guys out there, so I think it could be a really interesting match. I think it'd be a lot of fun too. I like Elgin. Moose has kind of won me over. He's got this innate charisma to him that I can't quite put my finger on, but he's very likable, and he's, again, kind of like what I said about Baron Corbin. He has gotten a lot better, so I think this could be a pretty good match, and I think, I want to say Moose will go over because they want to continue building him up, but Elgin is going to be getting a title shot against Lethal at New Japan's Dome Show, which I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes, but they might want to have him go over and then look strong going into the next title match. So we'll see how that goes. But for right now, I'll pick Moose to win, but I would not be surprised if Elgin went over, just based on the fact that he's getting a shot against Lethal at the Tokyo Dome Show. That is that. Then we have the Ring of Honor TV title match. It'll be Roderick Strong defending the title against Bobby Fish. That should be solid. Roderick Strong's not usually a guy I get super excited about, but he's not incapable of having good matches, and I think Bobby Fish is a good talent, so maybe they can make something happen together, so who knows. And next up from there, we have the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles on the line as the Kingdom with Maria Kanellis defends against War Machine. This is going to be a very different kind of match. One of the reasons I like War Machine as a team is because they're so different from all the other teams in Ring of Honor, because they're big bruiser guys. Like, these are big power guys. And Ring of Honor normally doesn't showcase teams like that. So I really like War Machine. I kind of instantly like them right off the bat because they look so different, they wrestle so differently, and they're just a new team altogether. And I just really dig them. So I think this could be a really fun match. I think again, clashing styles. There's a heel versus face dynamic. I think Maria's gonna get involved and do something crazy and, add some bells and whistles to that. So I think this match could be really fun. I'd be very surprised if War Machine won the titles, but who knows. I'm not expecting any title changes here, actually. So, but I don't know. It's their biggest show of the year. They may want to have some titles change, but I'd be very doubtful. Roderick Strong just won the TV title, so I doubt he'll lose it. Tag titles, I just don't see them switching, and the main event, I would be very surprised if there was a title switch, but I'll get to the main event in a little bit. But, I do expect a good tag match here, and hopefully it's good. And then after that, we have the big grudge match of the show. It'll be Adam Cole taking on Kyle O'Reilly in a match without honor. They've been building up this match for quite a long time. It's one of the big story threads that's been going on right now. One of the reasons the Ring of Honor TV show was so enjoyable. It was one of their big storylines going from episode to episode. And yeah, I think we're finally getting the big match. I think it should be really good. And possibly even the show stealer. Who knows? It could potentially be the best match on the show, but we shall see. But yeah, I think this match could be very, very, very good. But again, here's hoping. Fingers crossed. And then we get to the main event. It'll be Jay Lethal defending the Ring of Honor World title against the phenomenal AJ Styles, which should be a very good match, except for the fact that AJ Styles got hurt and actually had to be pulled out of the World Tag Team League over in New Japan as a result. And he's got some pretty big matches coming up, namely this one and his match at the Tokyo Dome show, which I'm going to cover when I talk about the Tokyo Dome show. But I hope AJ's okay. Again, it's kind of that thing with Daniel Bryan. Was like, dude, if you're hurt, don't force it. You know, just come back when you're ready. And but at the same time, there's also that selfish part of me that's like, oh, but I want to see him versus Lethal, and I do want to see his match at the Tokyo Dome show. So I hope everything's okay and he's able to get through those two matches. But if it's really a serious situation, you know, I would have a plan B in place. And AJ, you know, it's okay if you can't make those matches. It's okay. I won't be mad. I will fully understand. But if AJ can make it and he's in top form, I think Lethal and AJ could go out there and have one hell of a match. I think it would be a great main event. AJ has been on fire all year long. The matches he's had in Ring of Honor and New Japan have been incredible. I mean, AJ's arguably the best he's ever been, and that's saying a lot because he's been very good for a very long time. And I think this could be a great main event for the show. I don't see Lethal dropping the belt, especially since he's set to defend the title at the Tokyo Dome show. Again, we'll see if that's how it ultimately plays out. But the fact that he's defending the title at the Tokyo Dome show just makes me think that he's going to retain the title here. But in any case, I do expect a very good main event out of these two, and I think it'll be a fun match. And at the very least, I'm confident that this Ring of Honor show will end on a high note because I expect this match to be very good if the match takes place, depending on AJ's conditioning. But again, we will find out when it comes when the show rolls around. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Ring of Honor's final battle. Again, looks like a solid card overall. Again, not the greatest thing on the planet, but there's a couple big matches on there and a couple good little gems on there that I'm looking forward to. So yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Now let's close this video out by talking about New Japan's big Tokyo Dome show in 2016, Wrestle Kingdom 10. Now, if you followed my videos this year, you know that I started watching New Japan regularly with the American side English commentary presentation of Wrestle Kingdom 9. Watched that show, loved it, and I've been watching New Japan ever since. And I've gotten a big kick out of watching a lot of it, so I'm naturally very excited for seeing what they do with Wrestle Kingdom 10. And they released their card, and honestly, it looks very, very good. I think it's going to be one hell of a show once again, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's like I said, it's going to be like the first wrestling show I watched in 2016, and I think it's going to be an excellent one. And I'm looking at this card. I don't see how it could be anything less than a very, very, very good show. But going over the matches themselves, we have the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championship in a fatal four-way. It'll be Red Dragon, Young Bucks, Roppongi Vice, and the duo of Matt Sydal and Ricochet. What did I say about the Ring of Honor match? It's gonna look like every other Young Bucks match I've ever seen. It's just gonna be them bouncing all over the place, spot fest. Nothing makes any sense. Nobody's tagging. It's gonna be a car wreck of a match, and I'm getting tired of those. But whatever, I don't really care who wins, but it'll be the flashy opener, I imagine. So I'm not expecting to be. I'm not expecting to love the match, but it'll have a lot of spots in it that people will walk away from going, it's like, oh, wow, that looked really pretty and really cool. So it'll be one of those type of matches. Then there's a six-man tag. It'll be Toru Yano versus three members of the Bullet Club. Toru Yano and two mystery partners versus three members of the Bullet Club in a six-man tag. I expect this to just be filler. I don't know if Yano's two mystery partners are going to be some kind of a big surprise or anything. So it'll be interesting to see who fills that role. But other than that, I'm not really expecting too much out of this. But again, it'll just be a filler match. And thankfully, it's the only one on the card. So, the rest of the card looks pretty damn good from here. You got Jay Lethal versus Michael Elgin for the Ring of Honor World title. That got put on the show, and I was at the WrestleMania 29 Ring of Honor show. The WrestleMania 29 weekend Ring of Honor show, the night before WrestleMania, and I thought Lethal and Elgin had by far the best match on the show. That was an outstanding match that those two had together, and I think they could have a very good one here as well. And I'm actually looking forward to seeing these two face each other again. I think it could be excellent. And yeah, it's nice to see Ring of Honor getting a substantial presence on the show as well. It's just a nice little cross-promotional thing that looks really cool, and it provides a different flavor for a match that you don't normally get on... it's a different flavor that you don't normally get on a standard New Japan show, but you also, it's a different setting for Ring of Honor and their guys, so it has that aspect to it too that makes it very cool. So, I think this could be a very good match, a lot of fun, and here's hoping for the best. Then we have the IWGP Tag Team Championship. I think the Junior Heavyweight's next. It's the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. It'll be Kenny Omega defending against Kushida. Their matches have been really good, and I expect this one to be no different. They typically have really good matches together. Kushida's been incredible. Actually, I still think his match in the finals of the Super Junior tournament was one of the best matches of the year, easily. And Kushida's just been great. So I think him and Omega are going to have another good match together. I would imagine Omega would retain because, I don't think they're going to want to hot potato the belt too much between those guys. I don't know. I could be wrong. But I would imagine Omega would probably retain and then move on to a new opponent from there. From there, I think it's the tag title match next. So IWGP Tag Team Championship, the Bullet Club, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, defending against the duo of Togi Makabe and Tomoaki Honma. I love that duo, Makabe and Honma. I think that's a really, really cool duo. And, they established them to the last tag team tournament that they did. So, yeah, I think we're good to go here. And it's nice to have a tag title match that I'm legitimately interested in, because normally the New Japan shows haven't really had that. They did Bullet Club versus the Kingdom for a while, but they did that for a little too long and a few too many times. But here it's like, no, it's a fresh pairing going up against the established team that are the champions, and I think... I think they could have a really good match together. And hopefully Makabe and Honma win, because I would like to see Honma get that big feel-good win on a big dome show. So, and that's really one of the major appeals of this match, is like finally he's getting a significant match on... he's starting to get like consistently more significant matches on the shows. So, I think Honma and Makabe will probably win the straps here. So that could be really, really cool, I think. So, that's something to look forward to. And then we have Hiroki Goto taking on Tetsuya Naito, who's been he turned heel earlier this year, so it provides a different dynamic for his matches. And I think Naito and Goto are going to go out there and just tear it down. I think both those guys are great. I think they'll mesh well together, and I think they're just going to go out there and have a great match. I would imagine Naito would win just to further establish his new character change and his new character direction, and establish a new contender for some of the other big stars like Okada and Tanahashi and Nakamura and AJ, and just give them somebody else to work with. So I think, Naito's going to win in what should be a very good match. Then we have the Never Openweight Championship, Tomohiro Ishii defending against Shibata, which that match is going to be stiff. They are going to beat the ever-living crap out of each other, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch, I think. It's going to be stiff as fuck, but it's going to be so much fun to watch. I'm going to go ahead and pick Shibata to win the title, just to take the Never Openweight belt into a new direction. But I got to say, I really like how the Never Openweight title has found its own identity. As like, this is where the stiff guys beat the crap out of each other, the Makabes and the Hanmas and the Ishis and now the Shibata. It's like, it's kind of found its own unique identity on the show. So, I'm really looking forward to this match. I expect it to be really, really cool and a lot of fun. So, that's definitely one to look forward to. And then for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship, you have Shinsuke Nakamura defending against the phenomenal AJ Styles. And again, if AJ's healthy and this match takes place as planned, I think this could be an absolutely outstanding match, because one of my praises of New Japan this year is that their main events have been incredible, especially the ones involving the main guys. And the top 4 guys are basically Okada, Tanahashi, Nakamura, and AJ Styles. And if you look at any time it's 2 of those guys facing each other, it's incredible. Okada and Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom 9 was incredible. AJ versus Okada at Dominion was incredible. The G1 Climax matches, Okada versus Nakamura and Tanahashi versus Nakamura, those matches were incredible. AJ and Tanahashi faced each other at New Beginning, and they had a very good match. So all the pairings have really worked out well and provided very, very strong caliber matches. The one we haven't gotten is AJ versus Nakamura. Here we go, and I'm really looking forward to that match and seeing what those two do with each other. I think that could be an absolutely outstanding match. And man, I mean, this card's got so much going for it. It's got a lot going for it. So I think this match could easily be the best one on the show. Again, if AJ's healthy and everything goes well, I think this could easily be the best match on the show. So really looking forward to this one. Who goes over? I would think Nakamura. I don't know what AJ's future is going to be with New Japan, but again, it's one of those things we'll just have to wait and see. But I've heard rumblings that AJ might go to NXT. I've heard he's hurt now, so maybe he might want to lighten his schedule. I don't know, but for right now, I'm counting on Nakamura going over and retaining the title. But we'll see how it all goes. And then in the main event, we have a main event from last year's Wrestle Kingdom event as Kazuchika Okada defends the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship against Hiroshi Tanahashi, and this will be the 8th match. I think I've heard that correctly. This will be the 8th big singles match that those two have had with each other, and I've seen about 4 of them. I saw the one from last year's Wrestle Kingdom, obviously, and every time they face each other, it's incredible. It's really amazing that they've been able to face each other this many times and keep the match so fresh. And I think the way their last match at Wrestle Kingdom 9 ended, with Okada basically being brought to tears at the loss and being so disappointed by the loss, and then putting him on the path to redeem himself and ultimately win the title back against AJ at Dominion, really heightened Okada and really made him more than just the flashy young guy or the really good main eventer. It really made him feel like more of a human being in a good way, and I think added a lot of emotion to that match and was a nice kind of cherry on the top of what was already an incredible main event. And I think that level of emotion at the end of that match is going to carry over into this match and it just makes it instantly more interesting, because Okada still has to redeem himself for last year, and Tanahashi has to win the title back after he lost the belt not long after winning it. So, he lost the belt not long after defeating Okada. He lost it to AJ. I think that was the very next month, if I've got my memory right. So, I think this is going to be another stellar main event between these two. I don't know how they're going to top last year's match. I guess I shouldn't expect them to, but because of the matches I've seen that they've had together, I think their Wrestle Kingdom 9 match is the best one they've had. Granted, it's the only one I saw live, but it's it is what it is. But I expect this to be a very strong main event and should be a great capstone to what promises to be a very, very good event in Wrestle Kingdom 10. So I am definitely looking forward to that. So I am done previewing all the wrestling shows. Like I said, my next video will be a big Star Wars video that previews The Force Awakens. You'll be getting that either Tuesday or Wednesday. I'll be seeing NXT TakeOver. I'm going to be seeing TLC tonight, but you won't get a review right away because you'll get the Star Wars video next. Then I'll be watching NXT on Wednesday night. And then I will see The Force Awakens on Thursday night. And then I'll see Ring of Honor. I believe that shows, I want to say it's Friday, but it could be Saturday too. So whenever I see the Ring of Honor show, I'll watch that show, and then right after I'm done with that, I'll do my big review video and then review TLC, NXT, Force Awakens, and then ROH. And then you'll get that next big video. And then after that, you'll get my big end of the year video, and I'll be done for the year. So, hopefully I can get through all that. Better said than done, but here's hoping, fingers crossed. So, hope you all enjoyed this video, and I've got a lot more planned for you in the next week or so. So be on the lookout for that, and until next time, I will see you all later.